job, Ricky. Good job. Really well. I think, before I bring on the last two, just really want to say something about, I think it is tough. Sometimes when you go back, have to think about some of the things that have went on in our life, but that was only a season. A lot of times it's just a season in our lives that we go through, and then we don't see, think that, oh man, it's going to always be this way, but it's not always that way. And that's, a lot of times when, even in my life, like I said before, it's been a lot of seasons. Mental health is a big thing. It is, at the time when I was young, there were mental health around, but we didn't really do anything to seek it or anything because we didn't know anything about it. Our parents didn't know. So, it's good to see that, Brittany saw differently. I think that's the thing, when you seek and see differently because there's things out there that you can, that's why I said the Becky Day Center, Becky Day report, I get on that side, but then all these therapy, avenues you can take down to help with mental recovery is a big thing. And also this mental health period. I think a lot of things come from mental health as well. So that's a good thing to have, those things, those tools, right? Those places that you can go. So that's a good thing as well. It's not easy, sitting up here and talking. I mean, it feels like 100 hours you're up here and you're not even up here that long sometimes, but it feels that way, especially when you have something heavy on your heart. So, and you'll look back and see that, it's like, I know it doesn't seem like a lot of people are here today, but the people that were supposed to be here are here, and that's just the way I see it. That's the way I see it. But anyway, but in the day and age now, we put it out on the internet, and somebody can see it and speak to someone. So that's a good thing as well. So, like I said before, I thank Brittany for speaking, Sabrina, Amanda. We got 2 more speakers left. We're going to bring on Frank Isaac. Coach, game changer.
All right, I appreciate you letting me come to talk to you guys today. I'm super excited. I don't get a lot of opportunities to talk about some of the things I'm going to talk about today, but I'm just going to give you a quick story, to be honest with you. I'm not going to actually have a testimony or anything like that. I'm just going to talk to you about an individual that I met way back when. But before that, I want to ask you something, and some of us have already talked about it in the presentations. How many of us has been in our lives, and maybe we're dealing with it right now, or know someone that's needed help, that's been down on her luck, down and out, depressed, sick, in recovery, or maybe in addiction, and needing help, and maybe you didn't feel like you had anybody to reach out a hand and help you. Well, this is a story about Don't Be Richie. It's about an individual I met way back when. By the way, I'm Frank Isaacs. I'm a Game Changer coach at Midland Trail High School. If you've never heard of Game Changer, it's a program in the high schools and middle schools and starting out into some of the elementaries throughout the state of West Virginia. It's actually a really, really cool program about, not so much, it does talk about drug prevention, but it also talks about making good choices, making wise decisions, and using your resources that's provided to you throughout the communities. So if you've never heard of it, please look it up, Game Changers. It's a really good program. If you're ever interested, if you've got kids in the schools, reach out to those, your principals, your teachers, your counselors, and ask about the Game Changer and see if you can be a part of it. So when I was 21 years old, I went to college, and I graduated college with a teaching degree. And all of a sudden, I'm out in the world, and I have no job offers. There's no teaching positions for a PE teacher. Don mentioned that I was a coach. I coach football. I went to college to be a football coach. I didn't go out to be a teacher. So what do? I'm married. I don't have a job. So I get a job as a PE director, or actually it's called a recreation specialist or a gym director at the maximum security prison. So I'm 21 years old and I walk into this prison. I don't have a whole lot of experience. Actually, I have no experience in a classroom. Definitely not in a prison. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm scared plumb to death. So I'm in this gym and they say, you know what, Frank? You've got this gym. You've got security outside, but it's all on you until if you need something, if there's something that's going to happen, you call on the radio and they'll come help you. but it's up to you until they get there. So I'm 21 years old, like I said, and I've got murderers, rapists. I've got all kinds of criminals in here, and I'm scared plumb to death. So I find this one kid that looked like my age. I'm starting to shoot basketball with him. We go and we connect, we talk. We find out that we've got the same likes, dislikes. He was a popular kid in school. I was a popular kid in school. He liked football, basketball, baseball. He was an AV student. I liked the same stuff. And if you've ever met anybody, maybe out on the street, or you met someone and you just hit it off from the day one, you know you're going to be best friends with this person forever. Well, you know, if he wasn't an inmate in the prison, and I wasn't out on the street, we probably would have been best friends because we hit it off like that. So as we talked and the months go by, I went ahead and asked him. I wasn't supposed to, but I asked him. I said, "Richie, what landed you in jail? What did you do to get in jail?" And he says, "You know what, Frank?" And I still remember this answer. He says, "I didn't accept the help when it was provided for." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Throughout my life, I was given opportunities to get help, and I never accepted it." So he started to tell me what happened. And I think if you really think about your time on this earth, how many times have we said, "I'm good. I'm good. I don't need any help." Whether it's embarrassment, whether it's pride, I'm good. I don't need help. Or how many times have we sat there and thought, or we justified not accepting help because we were too proud, we were too embarrassed of the situation that we're in. So Richie went on to tell me that when he was 13 years old, getting ready to turn 14, he was in a family of a mom and dad. Mom worked midnights as a nurse at a local hospital. His dad was a raging alcoholic, an abusive relationship. He was emotionally and physically abusive to Richie and his mom, and he was a really bad drunk. There was one time that he was wakened up by his dad, yanked out of bed, and said, "We're going to go talk to your mom." So he gets in the car and he remembers swerving across the road, across the yellow line, and they get into the hospital parking lot. And he says he remembers because it was raining that night. His dad says, "I'll be back." And he sits in the car. He remembers the windshield wipers going beep, 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 beep. And the windows start fogging up, and he'd have to wipe off the fog off the window to see. He says what felt like an eternity. He saw his dad coming out of the hospital, his mom following him. They're arguing, and security guards following them. And after a few seconds, he sees his dad fall to the ground. One of the security guards had actually shot his dad, and he died that night. Not only did Richie lose his dad that night, he didn't know it at the time, but he lost his mom as well, because his mom was going to end up having to get a second job to pay for the bills. So his mom wasn't there anymore. She was working all the time. And throughout the years, that AV student, that really popular classmate, that guy that loved football, basketball, baseball, he started slowly drifting out of school, slowly stopped playing because there was no one there. There was no one there to wake him up to school, to get him there. There was nowhere there to pick him up after school, or take him to the ball games, or to take him to practice. So through this entire time that's happening, he's had people asking him, "Richie, we know how your dad is. Can we help you?" His mom, "We know how your husband is. Can we help you?" And Richie was always embarrassed and too proud to accept the help, and he said, "No, I'm good. I'm good." Well, now he doesn't have a dad. He's losing all his friends. He's losing the love of his life through sports. Everything in his life he's lost. He doesn't have a dad. Whether he's an outreach alcoholic or not, he loved him. He was still his dad. His mom is gone. He has nobody to really fall back on and to hug him and tell him it's going to be okay. And then the one thing that he could always count on was sports. Their sports are gone. His coaches have asked him, hey, we'll drive you to practice. We'll let you stay at our house. His friends' parents, hey, you can stay with Jimmy or Johnny, and you can live with us. And Richie said that all he could ever say was, I'm good. Because of the pride and embarrassment. So by the time Richie was 16 years old, going on 17, he was a raging alcoholic, a drug addict. He said, Frank, I promise you, when I was 16 years old, I was partying with my friends at the bars on the weekend, and I was partying with their parents during the week. He said, I didn't go to school. All I did was drink, smoke weed, and hang out. He said, I wanted to forget what I was feeling, and the only way I could do that, I think one of the presenters said that earlier, I had to drink to do it. I had to get drunk. I had to get high to not feel the void that I had. I didn't have anybody. Well, what he had was people asking him, do you need help? We had people trying to inject into his life and say, we want to help you. But Richie was too proud to do that. And how many of us throughout our lives do that? We push the ones that's closest to us away because we're embarrassed and we're too proud. And even though we may not have, and Richie didn't have the mom because mom was working and the dad was gone and passed away, he still had people who cared for him, and he pushed them away because he was too proud and too embarrassed. So Richie said one night, he was at a bar. I don't know if it was a Friday or Saturday night, but he said he had just turned 17, and his girlfriend's mom is sitting at the bar, and she comes over to him and says, hey, Richie, hey, I got a guy over here who's got $4,000 in his pocket. Let's go out and rob him, and we'll split the money. And all Richie could think of, not whether he was going to knock someone out or try to rob somebody, all he could think of was how much beer and how many dime bags could he buy with $2,000. So Richie gets in a car and follows him. They go out this back road. They pull off to the side. He pulls off. The whole time he's driving, he's like, what am I going to do? I'm not big enough to fight him. This is a grown adult. So he goes and looks in the back of his car in the trunk. He had a softball bat. He says, Frank, I swear, he said, when I picked up that baseball bat, I remember. He said, it went through my mind. I remembered swinging a baseball bat over top of the plate. I remembered the grip. He said, I could smell. He said, I literally smelled the baseball, the softball, the fresh cut grass, and the dirt. He said, it all came back to me. He said, I even took a practice swing behind my car. He says he takes the bat, he walks up to the car, and yanks the guy out, and hits him in the back of the head with a baseball bat. They take the money. They split it. He actually gives his girlfriend's mom a ride home. Drops her off, and he goes to his house. He says he remembers being awakened by his grandfather's voice. Richie, there's someone downstairs that needs to speak to you. He remembers walking down the stairs, and there's 2 state troopers standing at the door. He says, Richie, you are under arrest for first-degree murder. When he hit the guy in the back of the head, he had a brain hemorrhage and died. That man was a father of 2 or 3 kids and a wife, and a husband to a wife. Richie not accepting the help throughout his life led him to that one moment. If Richie had listened to those coaches or those teachers, people in the community, preachers, if he had listened to them and accepted the help instead of being proud and embarrassed, Richie would not have landed in prison, being convicted of first-degree murder. Richie had to spend the rest of his life he had a potential for parole after 15 years. But Richie, when he told me that he didn't accept that help, it really stayed with me. Because I had went into prison to work as a job, but once I left there, 4 years later, I lost touch with Richie. We had wrote a couple of letters, but I lost touch with him. But that one thing is I didn't accept help has stayed with me. That's been over 30 years now. See, I wanted to be a football coach. I didn't really care about being a teacher. But when I left there 4 years later, I wanted to be a teacher. Because I could make sure that I could prevent other Richies from happening, because I wanted to make sure that I told these kids that accept my help, don't push me away. Don't push me away. I know those inmates, I met so many good people, really good people, that just made bad decisions. And a lot of them was because they said, I'm good. They didn't accept the help that was offered to them. So if you're sitting here or watching this, and you're in a position or a situation that you feel like there's no one out there, there's no help, there's no one reaching out a hand, I promise you there is. You just got to open your eyes. You've got to quit telling yourself, I'm good. You got to reach out, grab that hand, and don't be Richie.